What are some of the funniest pronunciations you've ever heard of your name? Has it like
Okay. Um, Swice is one.
what? I was
Oh
thinking like
yeah.
Saoirse. What the Swice? First off, with any debut release, like everything, I'm sure there are going to be like tons of unknowns. So I'm wondering, what were your expectations going into the launch of the album? Were you excited? Were you anxious?
Um, that is a great. I was just thinking about this yesterday
Mm.
because I don't know. I was working on this album for a really, really long time. I guess in my scope. I mean, I started it I guess like October of last year, and I finished it in August. Like just 3 weeks before I was gonna release it. Um I don't know. I think at first when it was like I mean, I changed like half of the songs. Like there are a bunch of lost songs from the album. So I think the first draft of it, if I would have released it when I thought I was going to in January, I was setting my expectations like kind of high because I was on for me at the time, I was on a decent trajectory, and I felt really strongly about all of that. But like turns out making an album is really hard.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, like I don't know, I hit a wall where I was like, I don't want to be making this anymore. Not in the
Hmm.
I don't know, I was loving the project, but like I don't want to keep working on this.
Hmm.
So I think the expectation I set was like the cool people that listen to me or that know people who listen to me will hear this and be like, hey, that's cool. And that's all I need. And it is definitely surpassed that, which
Hmm.
is really cool. I don't know. Like the literally yesterday I was on a date
Hmm.
and someone on the street is just like, "Hey, are you a SoundCloud artist?"
Wait, you got recognized?
Yeah, which is
Holy
crazy. And
shit.
in like Portland too, which is interesting. There's not like a
Yeah.
huge like hyperpop scene or anything here.
Yeah, holy
Um
shit. That's awesome. Oh my god. That's like I can imagine. Was that your first time ever getting recognized?
it was my first time getting recognized here for sure, and first time getting recognized for like this project.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, like that was it was really flattering, and the fact that it was on like a first date too.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
just like, yeah, I'm not, yeah, I'm a big deal. Flip your hair. Yeah.
I'm a little bit famous.
Yeah, I'm a little famous, you know me, but yeah. What are some of the funniest pronunciations you've ever heard of your name? Has it like
Okay, um, Swice is one.
what? I was
Oh
thinking like
yeah,
Saoirse. What the Swice?
Swice. Yeah, I don't really know. Um, I don't know. I don't know how that one happens. Like, Sean Can of Bliss calls me that as a joke, but someone really did say that to me.
Oh my god. In
Um,
person?
not in person,
Okay.
thankfully. Just in a voice call. I think if that happened to me in person, I would shrivel up into a little and die.
Oh my god.
um,
Swice. That's fucking hilarious. Oh
um,
my god.
yeah, I think like I don't know. I get a lot of say or like
Mhm.
sourcey.
Mhm.
Um, and I think I mean like yesterday when I got randomly recognized on the street, the person was like, "Oh yeah, you're a SoundCloud artist, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And they're like, "Say your sir," and I'm like, "sir-shuh?"
So
Like,
shit, yeah.
um, oh man, oh there's so many like Sorius.
Sorry.
Uh, I don't. Yeah, I think like it almost seems intentional sometimes the way people like misplace the
I can
letters in
guarantee
my name.
Swarsea or whatever the fuck the first one was. I
Swartz.
guarantee that was that. No way in hell. That's ridiculous.
I think Saoirse is the one that bugs me the most because it's so common and it's like that's not even the order the letters are in.
When it comes to like debut releases, like no matter how much people compliment or praise or just say like, oh my gosh, this is so good, it's sometimes difficult to see anything other than like the flaws in what you created, like something like the things you could have changed and been like, oh, I wish I would have tweaked this, I would have done that. So I'm wondering, now that the album has been out for a minute and had some time to simmer, how do you look back on it?
Ooh, that's a great fucking question. I I think in my brain, because of the way I created it, it feels really disjointed. And it's just because like all of these songs were written, in like very different styles and over very different periods of time. I don't know, had a very interesting last year, as many people did.
Right.
Um, being in your early 20s. Uh, but like I think there are a few songs that I think are definitely like they've grown on me since I released them. I was starting to feel like really, really, really over the opener because
Mhm.
it's like the oldest song on the album, and then I I don't know. I was just like kind of feeling nervous about how that would be like received, and sort of like feeding that into my own perception of the record, because like the pace in this scene for releases is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I used to make indie music. Like you can just take 3 years to make an album and no one gives a shit.
You
um
drop one and then drop off the face of the planet and come back a couple years later. Yeah.
exactly, and that's like expected. So definitely like keeping up with, I don't know, I had to go back and fully change a few songs. Like I restructured a bunch of the really old ones that ended up making the final cut, because I would like write something new and I'd be like, "Whoa, this is way better than the rest of this." Um, but yeah, I think my takeaway overall is that I think I think I sort of was able to execute the more like lighter, poppier stuff better. Um, and that's definitely what I've felt like really confident about, and what I think people have really connected with. And like, I don't know, not gonna lie, there's a song on there where I kind of I'm doing a little bit of a break-ins thing. People said that to me and I was like, shit,
Yeah, shit. I mean,
awkward.
everybody gets that fucking, everybody gets that comment.
Literally everyone. If you play guitar and you yell like, oops, you're
Or like
breaking.
voice crack once. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is kind of giving me like Breakins vibes, kind of Eden vibes. But yeah, like it's interesting that you mentioned like the pace of like releases in this scene, because it's crazy to say that like Zeke is gonna have like probably 2 album of the year contenders in a single year.
That
Like
is,
it's,
yeah.
I can imagine there's a lot of pressure to just like get stuff out like rapidly. But it's interesting that you mentioned that like the album feels disjointed to you, because I feel like, to me, and like I think a fair few people would agree with me, it feels genuinely like one of the most thematically consistent albums of the year, in my opinion. So it's super interesting that you mentioned that. And then of course, like I'm glad that you look back on it at least in like a somewhat positive light. But I'm wondering, like, now that you have like a project out release, like I feel like something a lot of people struggle with is once they put something like a debut album out into the world, is like this scope creep that comes with it, like the continual desire to like one up yourself with every release. So I'm wondering, do you feel any sort of like anxiety about like projects going forward?
Yes.
Mm.
And no, because I have, I don't know, I have a lot of unreleased and unfinished music that is just like pretty fun, and like low emotional commitment and like low concept, that I think will be like nice to just put out over the course of however long. But I've like when I was still finishing producing everything, I had already started to write songs for a next album, and I
Hmm.
already have like 8 songs that I've written, and a couple of them I started producing. And
Hmm.
like, I don't know, the one song that is like closest to being done, I keep on like sitting down to work on it, and I'm like, oh god, like I have to, why do I have to make this better than the previous project? And I think, I don't know, I'm trying to let myself let go of that, because like
Hmm.
I think it'll honestly, no matter what, I think it will just sound better. In my eyes, it'll be better, and that's all I really need it to be. But
Hmm.
like living up to those external expectations is definitely like crazy. It's like I've established something now that will be a lot of people's, like intro to me as an artist. And then from there I have to like define that sound, which is like, I think it's fun. Honestly, it's exciting figuring out like, what is the Saoirse dream vibe? Like that's all it really is. That's the process now. That's what we're working on.
Yeah, no, I think it's important. Like, I think you make a really good point in saying that like personal satisfaction is with your music is something that like you should prioritize a bunch, like, of above all else. Because I feel like we've heard like horror stories of like dozens of artists having like pressure to release a certain type of music or pressure to fall into a certain category, and then
Yeah.
just eventually getting burned out because you don't enjoy what you like creating. And Something I was surprised to hear was just how sample heavy everything was. Like I noticed you chopped up everything from Dynamic Duo to Teenage Dream.
Yep.
So I'm wondering what inspired you to sample so many sources and collage them all together in that manner.
Ooh, I've always really loved sampling. I think that was, I mean, when I started producing, I started making EDM, and I was
Hmm.
like, this feels boring. And then lo-fi hip hop
Mm.
was just starting to become a thing when I
Mm.
was like getting sick of, drum and bass or whatever I was making.
Hmm.
Which I don't know why I got sick of drum and bass, but we've come around on that. But yeah, I don't know. I started doing the whole like find an old jazz song and put lo-fi drums over it, and like it was all pretty mediocre, but that really got me into sampling, and
Hmm.
especially like I really liked making mashups, which I still love doing.
Hmm.
Just like I don't know. I think that's one of the most fun parts of music creation, is just putting two good things together in a new and
Hmm.
unexpected way. Like I think there's such an art to it that is really like unsaid, and I wanted to bring that energy to the album. So usually I would start something like, I don't think any of the songs started with a sample, but I would
Mm.
start something and I'd be like, I like I don't think I myself can like make this interesting enough without like going and chopping something up. Like
Mm.
I would rather, draw upon this like other influence and like just have fun with it. Like I think I'd been pressuring myself so hard, like I gotta like create all of my sounds. Usually my process would be like, okay, I want like a chopped piano, and okay, this song is in this key, and then I just like Google songs in D major. Like I like literally just Google songs in D
Hmm.
major, and I would go through and I would look up piano covers, and then
Mm.
whichever one like sounded the best, I just
Hmm.
like would take a piano cover and then chop out all of the parts I thought were the best. And that was when Just Like You became a real song, because the
Hmm.
original drafts sucked. It was like so boring, and I was struggling because I had this really good idea for it, and I was like, I don't know what to
Hmm.
do here. But yeah, thank God for the Frey How to Save a Life piano cover on YouTube. Um, and then that song became a challenge of like, I don't know, I wanted all of these like random like voice clips and little bits of acapella and like, just like chopped vocals and instruments all across it. So I just like found the most random stuff on my hard drive and
Hmm.
just tossed it in there, and I was like, what can I make of this? And I took just like a little like half-second clip of, Katy Perry, and used that as just like just like a little bloop sound. And then dynamic duo, I think I cut up like 3 seconds of, and then I put it in the hook, and like I Linkin Park's in the end was
Right.
definitely a good one. Yeah, the most sample heavy song, as far as like it, being structured around its samples, is Upset,
Hmm.
which yeah, I was I was making a song, making just like a beat. It wasn't even going to be a me song. With a frail state of mind vibe, and I was like, this is in the same key. What if I just sample it?
Hmm.
What if I make a garage beat out of a garage song? Um, and then like I think someone told me, I was like, I want to chop up a vocal for this, and someone told me you should chop up Drake, and I was like, I feel like that'll get me arrested if I release that.
Yeah, I was
Um,
shocked to see the list of samples considering that's on streaming. I was like, oh wow, okay, shh, we don't
yeah.
tell anybody, but yeah.
That was a joke. My manager
Yeah.
has instructed me to say
Yeah, for
that.
legal reasons that was a joke. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
precisely. I sampled the Drake, like the original acapella for the Drake song, and I was like, it was kind of low quality, and I'm like, I could get in trouble for this. So I just like looked up like acapella covers on SoundCloud, and there's so many acapella covers on SoundCloud. Tip to all the like producers out there: if you want to chop a random vocal, like you don't have to use fucking Gloves by Kamo anymore. It's okay. You can just like look up any song on SoundCloud and then acapella, and it won't be the real acapella. It never is. But it'll be someone doing a pretty good rendition of Hold On, We're Going Home, or what have you.
Right. Yeah. And like something I've seen with like quite a few bit of friends of mine, like it's interesting that you mentioned that like you never really started with like a sample, but then you added them in. And like something I've seen with a lot of friends of mine with debut releases is that it can be sometimes difficult to tell when like a song or even a project as a whole is done. So I'm wondering like how did you know that everything was done? You didn't have to like whittle away at it anymore.
Oof. Well, this was very much thanks to my co-executive producer, day waiter Cody. Um, Incredible guy. And yeah, I was so lost in the sauce of making the album in the early days that I just started sending him like all of the whips and all of the updates. And at a certain point, he was like, "Okay, like I'll just like executive produce this with you
Mm-hmm.
and help you figure out the structure." And I would just like come back every couple days with like a really fucking crazy idea and be like, "What if I like rearranged all of this? And like, what if I mash these two songs up and all of this shit?" And Cody would be like, "Okay, totally, but." Also, I think maybe what you have now is good. And at a certain point, we just like I don't know. I think when I had those 9 songs pretty close to done,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I think I remember like texting Cody like, okay, wait, what if I like took these songs out and like made some new ones in this kind of style? And he was just like, don't do that. like don't just like this is good. Like you need to just you know, accept this. And he helped me put it in like proper track order. And I just like sat down and I had to listen to it like 40 times. Like the first 39 listens, I was like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. But listen 40 or or whatever. It was a lot. Like it was like half a day. I was just listening to the album. Um and like I had to let it go, because even on, the 40th listen, I was like, there are all these things I could change, and all these things I could add, and, I could make this and that, and, go back and fix this tiny little, vocal error that absolutely no one will notice.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I don't know. You just have to let it go. It's like a mama bird letting a baby bird out of her nest. You just like you have to trust that what you see is way different from what other people see, and that
Mm-hmm.
like when you are showing someone something, they're not just like saying this is good to flatter you. Like, and I don't know. I really appreciated that honesty from like Cody in the process, because sometimes I would send him something and he'd be like, "I don't like this." He'd just straight up be like, "I don't think this works. Like, I think you could do better." Like entire verses or like beat sections, he'd just be like,
Mm.
"Nah." And I'd be like, "Yeah, you're right."
I can imagine it's nice to have somebody to sort of like rein you in on that realm. Like I think it's a quote from like the realm of film, but I think it is applicable here. Basically there's this famous quote that says like films don't ever get released, they escape. They just like they like you can't like if you never had a deadline to get something done by, you would just whittle away at it forever. But I think it's important to recognize that like you aren't the target, you yourself are not the target audience of a project. You are going to have inherently different like biases and everything. So I think that's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
number one tip is get a friend to tell you to stop, basically.
Yes, have someone executive produce your project with you. All that has to be is sending them everything you make for the project and getting their real true opinion.
So somebody
It's
that's honest with you for sure.
someone that's honest.
Yeah. And then transitioning over to webcage, it seems like there's a new collective popping up like every week. But for every new one that pops up, it feels like there's like 3 that fizzle out prematurely. But despite those odds, webcage is actually like not only persisted, but has actually gained quite a bit of momentum, especially recently. So I'm wondering, are there any lessons that you and your fellow members have learned in trying to keep a collective of that size afloat?
Ooh. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we started with a very different vision than we have now. Because originally it was just like a joke
Mm-hmm.
Discord server, and we made just like I don't know, just fun and occasionally just kind of stupid glitchcore songs, for lack of a better term. Um, and I think like when we started getting really, really good whips being sent to, the like open tracks chat, I think people started to think like, oh, like, wait, like
Mhm.
we can take this seriously, like we can have fun with this. And then we, added a bunch of people we thought were really cool and, released a couple singles, and we were like gonna release, I think like a 2-track EP at one point, just like I guess a single kind of.
Mhm.
And then like we have an upcoming project quite soon.
Mhm.
And I think we decided we wanted to work on that a very long time ago
Mhm.
and committed most of our best work to that. And then like, anything else would end up being, a single, or we, make something for a forum event, something like
Mhm.
that.
Or like Goop House, something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. It was a lot of work. I mean, like, I think we all became really, really close because we spent most of that time, honestly, just like hanging out and getting close with each other. And like the time where we, weren't releasing music, we were working on a lot of music and,
Mhm.
you know, like just like strengthening our bonds as a group so that we could, like achieve what we really wanted to achieve for our first like project so that we
Mhm.
could then go forth and just be a regular fucking collective.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think the best lesson I learned about collaboration that I think others definitely learned too is that sometimes you have to just like let an idea go.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like, you have to, let it be thrown away, although sometimes you do. But if you send a guitar loop, or if you do a verse on a song, and then someone who's producing it is like, oh, I'm actually going to do this with it, and it's like not what you envisioned at all, it's like just accepting that and like seeing where that goes. That was definitely an adjustment because we started from like the pretty like a scene typical format of like someone sends a beat, or like two people make a beat and send it, and then there are x amount of opens on it, and then that gets released on the webpage page.
Mhm.
But we like pivoted to more of a kind of band dynamic where just everyone is working on everything all the
Mhm.
time. Um, and yeah, you gotta have a lot of communication for that.
Mhm.
Um, and definitely like at a certain point when I was trying to finish everything and I couldn't really commit to doing more like production or like a lot more, vocals for webcage stuff, I just would like I would literally just be like, adding people to the Discord server, like, "Hey, you gonna work on this?" Or like, "Hey, who wants to, be on this track that I'm not even on?" Accepting a really like atypical workflow made our music so much better. And we still definitely gotta reformat that, but I think going forward, like we are already, starting to make a bunch of new stuff like that's coming out way easier than even like the first few songs did. Cause I mean, it's just like, we'll like hop and call and someone's like, I play this guitar thing and someone did drums on it. And it's like, okay, I'll do a hook. And then this person will make another section. And it's like, it happens so fast. You'll
Mhm.
have almost an entire song so quickly. And before it would take months to get there.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, like you mentioned like everybody working on everything, and I mean, despite there being a lot of similarities between your work in webcage and what you showcase on everything, like somewhere the two worlds differ pretty heavily is the number of like producers. Like for example, like the majority of everything is self prod, but then of course the like one of the more recent webcage singles, Freak Out, has 15 producer credits.
yes.
So I'm wondering, what do you think are some advantages and disadvantages of having that many cooks in the kitchen?
Yeah, I think sometimes it can definitely I'll start with the negatives, because sometimes it can get really confusing, and I think sometimes the collective vision for a song can become very muddled.
Mm-hmm.
But usually we will have, like, 1 or 2 people that are, like, holding the project file, and everyone else will just send them shit. And I know, an upcoming webcage song, um, that, uh, Tor primarily produced. Um, we I think there are, like, 9 producers, and we
Mm-hmm.
started that one in call off of a guitar loop, and everyone just like went off to make their own sections, and Tor's like, okay, I'll hold the project file, and we all sent stems for our sections, you know and I think we had like landed on some kind of structure and vibe, and the people had done verses already that night. And then we came back like a couple days later, and Tori's like, "Yeah, I changed the entire structure, and I also mashed these sections up." And it's like, oh, like it's there's a little bit of like some executive decision happening there, but it's with all of these parts from other people that makes it like new and fresh and
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know. I think that's what keeps it exciting. But I think if everyone was trying to produce all of the songs equally,
Mm-hmm.
that would get really, really difficult. But I think, yeah, I don't know. It's so fun to just like hear a song, that's like it already has like a beat and vocals on it, and to just be like, oh, like I'm gonna add something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm gonna add additional vocals or some, little amount of production, because it will just like you know it like if you let go like of, oh, I already liked this part, or like, oh, I already liked the beat,
Mm-hmm.
like if you accept the unknown a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
so many whips like blossomed
Mm-hmm.
from that. So I don't know, I think it's really good to just have a bunch of people throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned like a song that's potentially coming out like with Tor like basically completely restructuring the entire thing. I feel like a lot of other collectives would just be like, okay, time to leave that in the past, because I feel like at that point it would be like a little bit difficult to like rearrange like back into a collective vision. But I'm wondering, has there ever been like, I gotta know, has there ever been like an instance of a song that's been tanked by somebody just being like, I'm gonna switch like everything around?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think we have honestly, no. I think all of
Really?
the songs, yeah, okay, so there are a couple unreleased webcage songs that literally like the key got changed.
Holy
The
shit.
key and BPM was changed, and
Wow.
like the instrumental was completely redone, and that's like the only reason they got finished. So I think
Hmm.
honestly all of the songs that are in the vault that are like absolutely never going to be finished and never going to come out are the ones that like never got any production updates, and just like people were just continually adding vocals to.
Hmm.
um so yeah, it's definitely the opposite. Like, I don't know, people adding new stuff or changing stuff around is like what keeps the what keeps the songs alive.
Hmm.
I can think of definitely like 5 songs that didn't get that kind of attention, that are just like lost, which
Hmm.
is a bummer because they're great songs. But like we moved forward and we just like did other shit, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, that's super interesting because like I feel like that's the exact opposite of what a lot of different collectives do, in that like sort of change is it's interesting because I feel like that's what kind of gives webcage its longevity, the fact that you guys are all so dedicated to forming like different sounds and just like you said, throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
That like I feel like a lot of other collectives that maybe aren't as experienced are or full of members that aren't as experienced are a little bit more anxious or a little bit more hesitant to just continually change things so consistently. And something I always appreciate about your role in webcage is that from "Oh my god, I love you so much" to "Freak Out," you're often contributing some like really goddamn catchy hooks. So I'm wondering, was your decision to often be featured on the hook a conscious decision, or was that just coincidentally how things have gone so far?
It was coincidental at first, and then I
Mm-hmm.
realized I really, really like doing hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the first hook, the first webcage hook I did obviously was Grinder.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace to that song.
Rest in peace, that song.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll put it on my alt someday. Who knows? But I think I remember that, and people were like, "Oh, the hook is like so catchy," and I was like, "Okay, that's cool." I hadn't really been much of a like hook person before then, because I was coming from my previous vocal music had been like indie rock, where you can just like say shit and it doesn't even have to
Right.
rhyme, and it's all just kind of vague, which was fun.
Mm.
But I was like, "Oh, I can write pop hooks," and I started doing some in my own time, and I was like, this is so much better than whatever the hell I've been doing before. And like I would come on a webcage song, particularly "Oh my god, I love you so much."
Hmm.
is a great example. Oh, also, fun fact, in webcage, we all pronounce the name of that song Omgulism. It's kind of a long story, but I'm gonna call it Omgulism from now on.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
But but yeah, on Omgulism, um, I was trying to write a verse
Hmm.
because the part that Emma Dossie X sent, she was like, yeah, I think this could be the hook. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds dope. I'm gonna do a verse. And then I sent in my verse and everyone was like, so that's a hook though. You just wrote a hook.
So very
you know.
coincidental, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, I definitely, when there would be new whips or like songs that would just have like a couple verses on them and not really a clear hook, I'd be like, all right, I can hop in, I can do the hook on here. But like even Freak Out, like I still have my moments where like I was writing my part for Freak Out and I was like, hey, yeah, I wrote the first half of a verse, and it's just like, the Freak Out, I'm gonna pull my teeth out part.
Hmm.
And I played it to everyone on call, and they were like, I think that's a hook. Like I think you should just do it twice. I think
You're like,
that's a
God damn
hook.
it. Okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of creeps up on me, but I've
Hmm.
definitely eased into doing it more intentionally because it's like so much fun.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that like you sort of got comfortable. I feel like that's like something a lot of people can learn from. Like you got comfortable doing one thing, being the indie rock sort of thing, but then you like stepped outside your comfort zone and tried just doing pop hooks on like a whim, and then it ended up being something that you enjoyed a lot. I think that's something a lot of people could learn from.
Yeah.
And with shows opening back up, the topic of performing live has been on a lot of people's minds recently. And like I understand, like you mentioned, that you perform bass in a band, but I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on the prospect of potentially performing live as Sir-shuh Dream someday?
Oh my god, I want to so bad. I'm
Mm.
setting up a live set. Like
Oh,
I'm
really?
making yeah, I'm like I don't know. I'm trying to organize like I think whatever the first live shows I play are, I'm just gonna have like a project file with all of the songs I want to play and like the proper transitions in there
Mm.
at first because I don't have like a launch pad or anything, which
Mm.
I think that would be awesome.
Mm.
But I really, really want to play live. I love playing live. I love doing live vocals. The only Saoirse Dream shows that have ever happened were like a long time ago, and it's just like me on guitar, which is
Mm.
also fun. And I would definitely do that again. I think that's more likely to happen where I live,
Mm.
But if I'm able to like get out to LA or New York or wherever, which hopefully I will be, fingers crossed. Yeah, I really want to play live, especially like with my friends in New York who have just started playing more live shows. Like
Mm.
that'd be so fun.
Right, and like has the discussion of potentially doing like I can imagine it would be gigantic, but like a group performance as webcage ever come up as a discussion?
We've talked about it. I
Mm.
think we've talked about different ways to do it. I think more often than not, um, people will like, oh, that's funny.
Hmm.
Suggest the idea of like doing smaller, webcage shows with like some amount of webpage members that are able to be there and like you perform some of the songs and solo stuff. But the idea that I had that I think would be cool,
Mm.
that also would be so hard to pull off,
Hmm.
um i want to do like I want to do like a live band for
Hmm.
webcage, like drums and bass, two guitars, vocals, someone on synth. Like that would be so cool. And there are so many songs that would translate like really well into that. Cause I mean, honestly, we've switched to like mostly guitar based music lately. I don't know, that's not going to stay forever, but like we have a
Hmm.
lot of guitar based material coming out soon. Um, and like I've started, just for fun, like structuring out what that would sound like in, like a smaller like live band format. And like I think if we ever do set up a webpage show, like we will go all out. We'll get as many people as we can get there, and we're gonna, be playing all the instruments and like really having fun with it because it's gonna be something that we couldn't do very often. So we have to make it super special.
Right. Yeah. No, that sounds like God. That sounds like an electrifying night. But yeah,
Right?
on the topic of collectives, the rate at which new ones spawn has become pretty hotly debated in the community in the past couple of weeks. A lot of people think there's too many being created. They think that's sort of difficult to keep up with, and they argue, and then others argue that they're an important part of the community and that more should be created. So I'm wondering, as a member of such a sizable collective, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, I often can fall into the camp of like, I don't think we need this many
Mm-hmm.
individual collectives, and like I've tried to, I don't know, I've been in a couple other collectives other than webcage, but like the first one completely fell apart, and that was a fucking lame situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the other ones are like user oh god, what are the numbers? 177606669, I think.
That's impressive.
uh
Yeah, I think that's correct. That's very impressive. I would not be able
yeah.
to remember that. Yeah.
But like I don't know, I do some stuff with them, but that's pretty like, it's, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's, it's anonymous and it's pretty different. Like I do
Mm-hmm.
stuff for Form and Goop House, but like, yeah, I think as far as like really like team based collectives go, where you're supposed to have this kind of like identity, I think it's easier to commit to them and easier to form that identity if, there are people involved who are maybe only in like, one other collective.
Mm-hmm.
um and like starting a new one is something, it's a big decision, it
Yeah.
really is, and it is something that like no matter what can cause a lot of drama,
Mm-hmm.
and it can take a lot of work to keep up with, and can just fall apart really really easily and fall off the radar really really easily, even if you yourself and all the other people in it are like, really, active and popular artists in the scene. Like if you're not committing to the collective, it's just like not really going to happen. And at that point I don't really like what is it more, than a SoundCloud page and a Discord group?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because at that point just have a Discord group and make music together,
Right.
you know?
I think the argument again, I think people should be allowed to have their fun, absolutely. But
Yeah, of course.
I do definitely think that like a lot of, I think like the decision, you're right. The decision to make a collective is a lot bigger than I think a lot of people recognize. And a lot of collectives out there kind of feel like either they peak super early and then like I said, like fizzle out very quickly, or they just feel like false starts. It's like people not really understanding that it's like a commitment, and they just like sort of like say that they make a collective and then don't really do all that much. So I think
Yeah.
that's an important thing to recognize. And then as the scene inevitably grows, I'm sure through things like live shows and whatnot, I'm sure the use of blanket generalizations is going to continue to spread all over the place. So I'm wondering, how do you feel people using the H word to describe your music, or digicore, or anything else?
um Digicore I don't mind, although I don't even know, like, I guess I make some songs that would be considered digicore, but I was thinking about this recently when I was like looking through the digicore playlist on SoundCloud, and I was like, I don't really think I have anything that would like fit in
Mm-hmm.
here that I've released recently. And I'm like, I don't know if that really fits, but I don't mind it.
Mm-hmm.
um and hyperpop, I fall very on the side of it is not a real genre, and it's
Right.
an unfortunate term used to describe a bunch of different scenes that can
Mm-hmm.
cause a lot of tension. But in another way, when I'm telling new people I meet in real life that aren't like music people what I do, I'm like, I make hyper pop. But
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer if that wasn't the term. I don't know. I think I call myself pop, just like pop or like indie pop.
Yeah, like everything feels pretty distinctly like pop, like not like it feels pretty distinctly. Yeah, no, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Finally, somebody gets it. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I think like you mentioned, it's a very useful term to describe to people who maybe aren't as familiar with this realm of music. I think it has like the I've always had the opinion that it's important to basically like for people that like if you overwhelm somebody with like, oh, glitchcore, digicore, all this other stuff, they're gonna get overwhelmed. If you just give them one central thing, and that is kind of what the purpose of the Spotify playlist is to do, is to give them somebody a central word to latch onto, and then maybe get more into things. Personally, I think the way forward is like doing whatever the fuck Tracy Breaks is doing with like boingy pop and all that shit. I think that's the way forward.
That's so fun.
With webcage, for example, you just like throw stuff out there and be like, hey, come check out this work in progress. And I think any creative can relate to that feeling of like being super excited to show others people or other people like the stuff that you've been working on. But of course, there potentially like the desire to like not give away too much before the album or whatever is out. So I'm wondering, how do you balance those two sides of the equation out?
Oh, I am a big sharer. I love to share.
Yeah, like you mentioned you worked on like just like you in like 30 VCs on Twitter. Yeah.
I did, yeah, and it was still new and surprising to people, which is great because I
Hmm.
think I was making the basis of the song, and then someone told me like, you should like save this. You should like, work on this quietly and then release it. And I was like, damn, you're right. But I've already shown a fuck ton of people this
It's like,
project.
I want to be mysterious so badly, but I can't shut the fuck up like that.
Exactly. Like all of my friends had already heard, and many acquaintances had already heard like most of the songs from everything multiple times by the time it released. But I think the project all together and new additions and stuff, that was like the new stuff. But yeah, all of my personal newer material, I'm really trying to keep close to me because I don't know, I kind of want to work on it in a vacuum, and just like see what I want to do with it. And if I just like follow that, I think that'll work for me personally. But I can't I can't help the feeling of like making something new and posting it on Twitter, you know. So I think I help that by just like posting, random clips or like covers of Macklemore's songs.
Right. Yeah. Or airplanes,
Exactly. So that sort of like, satiates that side of things. Webcage, um, yeah, there's a lot of us, and we're all really excited about the music we make. And I think we all want to be really mindful of how we share our music, because it would be really easy for a lot of it to get leaked. And I've known before that when I've played, like various whips in voice calls with friends, like they've been downloaded later, and thankfully the songs that happened to did get scrapped. But it's just like unfortunate thinking like, okay, like people really will just like spoil that for themselves. And I think when we started like taking our work a lot more seriously, we definitely still share stuff like with friends, but very little. And we have to be very clear, like very little. Even in like the like private webcage server, like we have a couple people in there that aren't in webcage, and like we'll play stuff in the VC chat and like delete links after, because I don't think any of our friends are gonna leak it, but like we don't want to risk it.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. Yeah. Yeah, as frustrating as that can be, I feel like it's frustrating that it is like a sign that you're doing something right. It's frustrating that like people are like desiring after like new webcage singles or whatever the case may be so much that they're willing to like steal it before they're ever released. But it is important to remind that it means that you're doing something correctly. And then going beyond just sharing music in VCs and whatnot, I understand you recently flew out to New York to meet up with a handful of the webcage people. I was wondering, how was that experience?
Oh my God, that was incredible. I'd never been to the East Coast before. So definitely the moment where I walked out of fucking Newark Airport and got hit by the most humid air I've ever experienced.
Oh, good. You went during this. Oh, yeah, you went during the summer. Yeah, that's yikes.
So that was rough, and that whole week was rough for my body and my hair especially. But other than that, great fucking time. Meeting all of those people there was amazing. We worked on some really great stuff, and like the energy of working on a song with someone in the studio is I need that. Like I'm thinking about moving to New York, not gonna lie.
Really? Oh, that's super interesting.
I'm on this lease for another year, but
Yeah, Portland and New York is quite the transition. But I came from California to Chicago, so I think you'll manage. But yeah, like, I'm wondering, like, you mentioned the fact that you like worked on music while you were in New York, and like, of course, as the pandemic begins to open up, like, working in your bedroom is no longer like just doing everything in your bedroom is no longer going to become as much of like a necessity. So I'm wondering, like, how do you approach like that environment of working with other people? Do you have like anxiety recording in front of others or anything of the sort?
um yeah, I think recording anything other than vocals, I feel completely comfortable with, and like producing in front of other people, like guitar and bass or whatever, like that is all like I can fuck up and feel okay with that, because I have been doing that in front of a lot of people for a lot longer. But vocals can definitely be complicated, especially because no one uses fucking Logic.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that. You're one of the lone you and Kamo only
Yep.
people. Yeah.
And trendy. Shout out trendy. But yeah. Oh, and to Oscar. Sorry, got to shout out my homies. My real ones who use Logic. Yeah, so I use the varispeed function for my vocals, because it just sounds way better, and it's way easier than like manually slowing down the master of the song and recording over that, and it's sounds way better than just like formant shifting.
Hmm.
But the awkward part of that is like if I'm gonna record vocals at someone else's house on their setup, like I have to, plug in to their system with my
Hmm.
laptop and like set up varispeed, and like I'm recording on a like slower speed and a lower pitch, and like I don't know. I mean usually I'm singing, I do it so that I can like get really high vocals while singing in a more comfortable vocal range, and even sometimes I just do it for the effect,
Hmm.
um just because it sounds cool.
Right.
um but like, so I don't know, I do like many artists in the scene, I use pitch correction
Hmm. Right.
to hit particularly very high notes that
Hmm.
I can't hit them without sounding completely cheesy and corny,
Hmm.
like fucking SpongeBob or some shit. Um, so like recording those like really, really high pitched sections that I usually put in the back of the mix, like I can't do that in front of people.
Hmm.
And I definitely can't sing anything where I'm like really struggling to get it down. Like if it's gonna take me more than a couple takes and I'm like feeling really strongly about it, like I don't know. I'm getting used to it. But I think if I'm around that, if I'm in that environment more often, like I can warm up to it. And I really would like to, because I think recording vocals and writing vocals around other people is like really valuable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned the fact that like you're like at one point in time you might have been a little bit more anxious playing guitar or bass in front of others, but now you're comfortable with it. So I mean, it's nice to know that like you've gotten comfortable with one skill, so there's definitely room for you to get comfortable with another. And then like I mean, like you mentioned, like I can safely say some of the best advice I've ever been given is to like do everything you can to meet your online friends. Like it's pretty difficult when you're like maybe like my age, but like I definitely recommend anybody to go do that, like hop on that opportunity as soon as they can.
Yeah,
But on the topic of age, you're 21, correct?
I'm 21.
Right. Okay. And something that we've seen time and time again as the scene expands is that there's a growing pressure to become really successful at a young age, as we see like 14, 15, 16-year olds go like fucking nuclear. So I'm wondering, do you feel any sort of pressure in that regard? And if so, how do you like rectify it?
Hmm. Um, a little bit, definitely. More than anything, it's just like, being surrounded by 16, 17-year-olds who are like getting offers from Columbia
Hmm.
is like really intimidating.
Right.
Like, uh, but in another sense, I think I I don't have to rush for anything.
Hmm.
I think honestly, I know that a lot of the pressure on some like artists, who are like in high school, like and under 18, is that like they want to make as much as they can before they like either decide to go off to college or like focus on their music career, which is not an issue for me.
Hmm.
I don't go to college. I won't go to college. I tried to go to college and I dropped out. So, and that was, when I was still living in my hometown and, playing uh live music, which I started doing. um I guess I was in a Grateful Dead cover band when I was 16, but we don't talk about that. That was purely for money. I made thousands of dollars. But my first real band, I was like 17, and I played keyboard, and everyone else in the, indie scene, they were all like college students or older. So I'm, the 17-year-old playing bar shows, like awkwardly, like smoking cigarettes outside with all these people like trying to fit in. And I think that like felt like a strong enough start for me where I don't feel behind. I don't know. I feel like it's good to just take your time, and it can
Right.
feel like you have to keep up with all of the trends and do all of this stuff before you get too old and you don't like have the time or the energy or the drive, to like,
Hmm.
you know, uh reach some sort of potential. But like I know plenty of artists who peaked in their early 30s
Hmm.
and late 30s and like even later. Um so like if you have to, wait until you're, 21 for your big break, like That's okay. Being 21 is still pretty young, kids. I am not that much of an adult. I promise you. I don't have a job. I am unemployed.
Yeah.
I make hyperpop for a living, god damn it.
I make hyperpop for a living. Yeah, put that on your resume. But yeah, like it's like I think it's important for people to recognize that like for I don't know why like we've somehow shifted like the goalpost of like being young to like 13. Like I think people need to recognize that like you're like you start living on your own when you're 18 or like 19. Like that's not I don't get why people like sort of approach it as in like, oh, if I don't accomplish things by the age of like or by the age of like even like 20 or 21, then I'm like I'm not doing things correctly. It's important to recognize that like not everybody is going to be on the same path. On a much different hand, the other day you tweeted about putting together an Adventure Time covers compilation, so I'm wondering where did the idea for that come from?
Well, I was rewatching Adventure Time.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was going through this time, I think like when I was watching it before, I mean, I've seen the show a bunch of times, but my first like proper run through of all of it all the way through was like right before the finale came out, leading up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I definitely was like just catching up on everything and not taking a lot of time to like notice all of the fun atmospheric stuff and really like have fun with all of the music because I was taking in all of the crazy new fucking plot threads they'd added.
Yeah, they added a lot of shit. Like Jesus, I like came back and it was like an unrecognizable show. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I am obsessed. I just watched like a couple of the HBO specials last
I
night for
haven't
the
gotten
first
around to those yet.
time.
Are they any good?
Oh my god, they're so good.
Mm.
Like, yeah, the I don't know. I'm a I'm a lesbian. I really did like the I really liked Obsidian, which is the bubbling one. Like,
Mm.
it's very very good. And the other ones I've seen so far are also really good. But yeah, I think I was listening to the songs and I like keep monthly playlists of just like whatever I've been fucking with that month. And it's like kind of easier than having like an on repeat or something like that. And I'll just like shuffle that when I'm, taking the bus or doing menial tasks. And I noticed that like half of it was Adventure Time songs. And I was like, I really want to cover these. Like, I really want to learn how to play the bass part for Everything Stays. And I thought, like, wait a minute. I've always wanted to do some sort of covers compilation with the scene. And I think something that a lot of people are into is Adventure Time.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think it also has songs that like are very they can be like very soft and twee, but also can translate so well into other styles and just like playing like pop and hyper pop.
Mm.
Already like someone has made fucking an ambient cover of Bacon Pancakes.
And I need to hear that because I need like fucking like DNB like I'm just your problem or like
Oh
Daria
yeah.
Core. I need Daria Core bacon pancakes. That's what I
You
need.
are like you will get it. You will get this. Like it is happening. But
Yeah, considering
I
how
don't
the
know.
Airplanes remix turned out, I'm sure it'll be great. But and then no matter how many artists you discover, it seems like in this scene at least, it seems like there's always like a dozen popping up every time you turn your back. So I'm wondering if if you had to pick a handful of artists to put our listeners onto right now, who'd you pick?
Ooh, that's a good fucking question. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna open up my phone.
Mm-hmm. Go
Um,
for it. Yeah, no, if you need to pull up a playlist or anything, you're all good.
yeah. I have a couple particular things. I mean, obviously everyone should be listening to Tor, but I think people
Mm-hmm.
know Tor.
Right.
Um,
All the members of Webcage, Dossier X, everybody, Cannibalists.
oh yeah, absolutely. Like literally just go to the webcage roster
Mm-hmm.
and look down and listen to all of those people. They're all really, really cool. Um, fucking Heartstop Miami,
Mm.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Just makes some of the best fucking music. Like the Sabotage, that song is so good. I like cannot stop listening to it. Moss Garden, and Hidden Contact are both like super good. Those are user members. You somehow don't know dltzk.
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, November 12th.
Yeah, what are you doing? That's embarrassing. November 12th. Um, shit. I mean, I think everyone should check out all of the songs on Goop House. Um, I think those are all very fun. And that's like community that I really, really believe
Yeah, I
in.
feel like Goop House is just genuinely as far as like artists like that you should check out. I feel like Goop House is probably the best like collage of like, oh hey, there's like like I don't know, like 80, 90 songs in there. Like, okay, yeah, that's just every artist that you should check out that's popping right now. Shout out Austin with a Y, I love him to death.
Oh hell yeah! Shout out Musa, fucking great music. Wiley Hopkins, that's like not quite in the scene, but like very, very good. I think hopefully we all love Carbine.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Mason Infinity,
Mm-hmm.
just released an incredible album.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Oh my god. Okay, my biggest one that people are absolutely sleeping on, that like you really need to check out. You need to listen to Canary, spelled CNRI. Like
Thank you for putting in like spelling, because I swear to God, people in this scene don't know how to fucking spell. Like, yeah.
yeah, like you have to listen to Canary. Like, I don't know, some really fucking good songs. I think my favorite right now is probably, ooh shit, that's tough. I don't know. I've been listening to Lightroom a lot, but the song that got me into them was I don't really want to name this one, but like listen to Canary. Definitely someone you're going to hear a lot more of. Like I can see, coming up real soon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then on a similar note, even beyond webcage, you've collaborated with quite a few people over the years, and I can imagine there's plenty more you want to work with. So if you had to pick a handful of like dream collaborators, who would they be?
Oh man, I I really want to I want to get to the point in my career where I can make a melody loop for like a Nicki Minaj beat. I feel like that would be kind of funny. That's like way far in the future. Um,
I mean, yeah, manifest it. Anybody, yeah.
I'm manifesting it. I'm manifesting it. Definitely trying to work more with Kamo after how the airplanes thing came out. Shit. In the scene, I think Wikipedia probably is
Definitely.
like
That would, I
someone
think you
really,
guys.
really wanna
I feel
work
like you
with.
guys have a lot of chemistry. That would be like a really good chemistry to see. Yeah. Finally, you've come a really, really long way in 2021 alone, and I'm super excited for not only what you have in store, but webcage as well. So I'm wondering, is there anything else you want to accomplish before the year is through, and then going into 2022?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I want to release. Um,
Other than the Adventure Times cover compilation.
yeah, that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. That'll be soon. I want to release a couple more songs. I have some whips in my vault. I have this like, I don't know. I don't know if do you know Sad Key Ought, that
I
song?
do not know. I do
Oh,
not.
okay. Well, it's like a really classic future based song, but made a rage beat out of that, and I'm
Fucking God.
finishing a song based off of that with Day Waiter
Hmm.
that I really want to drop soon because that shit's so fun. But yeah, I think most of all, I just want to like, oh, fuck, I need to record a bunch of. I've been saying I'll record a guitar loop pack and
Mm-hmm.
then like put that online. Um, I've been saying that for like an entire year, and I think I'm finally like starting to record a bunch of different guitar loops. So I want to finish that before 2021 ends. And webcage, I want to see peer to peer by webcage get the recognition it deserves because people put some incredible fucking work into that tape. And like, I am so excited for everyone to hear it. And I just want to like, I think we've done so much, but we have so much potential as a group of artists, and I want to ride that out. I think there's like a big future there.
Yeah, considering the trajectory you guys, not only you, but like all of you guys have been on recently, I think you guys have got like a really, really, really bright future ahead of you. I'm super excited.
Me too.
I think that's going to wrap it up for you today. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
My friends are so